Now welcome back. Oh. For this section, we go like create a new section. Of course, we go put our spacers for here. We will give us this big space, and then we'll put a section for here. But what we like do is say we want to make this section make it get like a normal, title, and the text, and then make we they add these elements for here. Because if you look these elements for here, these cards, you're gonna say this not cards also. You go see say they look similar, but they arrange themselves side by side, and then they arrange the text for us. They break as they supposed break, and once we reach that break point, boom, they start to arrange themselves on top each other. They start to stack one another. So I could just go back this VS Code for here and then make we create a new section. So the first things first, as always, we go collapse the section. And as we don't collapse the section, make we say we want to add again our spacers. So I could just copy this comment where they tell us say our spacers. And then make we even add another comment for here. We could let us know say, okay, well, this now our achievement section we will work with, right? So make we add another section. Instead of section spacer, I go call this one achievement section. So I will say achievement section. All right. So we just know say this now the achievement section we will work with for you. So now I will just paste that our spacers for here. We will work with our default spacer. Write the comment first, and then we go create a div. So I'll say this will be which comment? This will be community. Again, make sure don't forget join our community for Telegram. Just so you know. Add the section for here. And the next thing we're going to do now, say we're going to like just add HTML section, and then we want to make this section make it get class. And just like every other thing, we want to give them a community. So we go feed the target them. Even if we know they use this class now, don't worry about that. There's no shame in writing classes where you know they use yet. So just so we feed the attach or the target them for CSS and they easily identify our code with CSS class. So we go say community, and then after this community, we go say we define py and our padding for the top and bottom on one set and 2, 5 for them. Now inside this section for here, if we add some other styling we want, because if you look the final design, we get something similar to the first hero section. We get all these styles. I don't know if you now remember, but the hero section, make we come here. For inside the hero, you see we get these styles for here. We get this all these styles for here. So I could just copy the styles and we could just add them for here. I go paste them there as styles, and I could just press save, which will help me arrange everything. And then instead of this image where they here, image 1, I could change this base image to base 2. So this could just give us our inline style. We get this background image where they arrange for us for there. And then the next one we need to do now, say, as we don't add this image for there, what we want to say, we want add a way or we want add our text title for here. So to show that say if we add that text title, and we not to need container all the time because we not to they wrap everything through container. I know say today hear container sometimes they very confusing. Me too, I also they confused before, but now I know too they too confused. So what we go do be say one of the tricks we go to use they avoid things for Bootstrap is say they try they think of your code as boxes. They try they think of your elements as boxes. So when you want to do this kind of styling now, we just say we want a box or a container or a div. We go hold our code like for inside the box. And this div, we want to make it get a class of text dash center. So all the elements by default inside this div, they go to the center. But we also want to make this div, make it just get wide. But we want to make it wide for only medium screen, medium screen. And we want to make it wide reach 50%. All right. But also, we want to make this div, make it the arrange for the x-axis, stand for the left and for the right. Make it the arrange itself automatically. Meaning say it could the arrange for the center. Then what we do for this MX auto for them. And now for inside this div for here, now here we can write all our text will be defined. So we define the H6, and this H6 now will define. We want to give them a class, right? And this class will be defined for inside this H6. Now just the color of the text. So we say text dash. In fact, this text, this thing also be almost the same thing as before. So instead of rewriting most of this text, make we look which one get them. I'm just going to copy it from the top for before. So I can look here. And make we go back into the other section, just copy that text for our achievements. And the first column will be work with, second column, and the last column. And here we won't copy that text. So we just say from here all the way down to the P tag, we just copy and minimize that one, and make we minimize section or collapse that section, and then make we just add the text for here. So instead of writing the code again, I could just copy paste them because we need to move fast. If I just press save for there, this supposed give me the same thing, but I could just change the text for here. And now this text will define our community, and then we could say country futures for here. And if we don't done like this, make we change the text here, and I go paste the text for here. So if I don't copy that text, because you say I just add a break for that text so that it go to break, so that the text go to break from here. It go to break from this matters, come down for here. Now there I won't break that text. As we don't done like this, make we preview the code and make we see as our code could behave for us, right? So make we go back into the browser, make I press save. And you see say now we get this our text for the center as we expect, and we get this background for here, which is the image background image where we add, and everything just is show right for us. Now to add that list for the bottom, make we say we define a container we go wrap everything, right? A container we go wrap everything for the bottom. Now we define so. So we go say make this container make it help us dey wrap things based on each card we will get. So I could just say first things first, make we first wrap everything for this one div. So as we come out this div now for here, make I collapse this div so we no go dey confused. And now for inside this div, as we don't write the title of this section, we want a class, a div with a class of container. And this div with class of container, as we add them for there, we go say, okay, now let's be defined. We say we want make this container make it get margin for the top and for the bottom. So we go say by default, so we go say by default, make it get margin for the top and for the bottom, and make we set the margin to 5. So it go big well. None at the highest, you know, so we get 1 to 5. And then we go say, as we don't get this container, of course, we want a row. So we go say class of row. And after we don't assign this row like this, what's in the game define? Well, for this row, for stay inside this row, we want to start to add our column for inside there, right? So we say we define a class of column. For the column, what we define now, say make this column for medium screen, only for medium screen and above, make it be column 5. So we go say column dash md dash 5. Now if we press tab for there, we will get our column with the work for us for there. Now if we don't do it like this, waiting again we go need to do for here. Well, the next thing we go need to do now, say we want to maybe say inside this our column 6 for here, we want to add our card, right? So because our card we work with, we will say we want to deal with the class of card. And inside this card, of course, when I go already they used to this card, say we want to make this card day rounded, right? So we'll say we want a card, we get padding. I say padding PD. We want a padding, we get padding all around by default, but we want make the padding be 3. And then we go say, okay, oh, make the padding now, make it day rounded. But we want set down to 4. I'm going to say, okay, oh, make the border, make you know day. I'm going to say, make it get a shadow. So we'll say shadow. So this is say it be almost the same thing just like before. So if you just even copy paste that code, and it will still give us that same card. But this styling of this card, it is slightly different too. So if we want to say they different, we're going to need to just change the body. So as always, every card, they get card body. So if you just say card dash body, and if you do that card dash body, what you want to be say, we want to add our own other things to this card we will work with, right? So what we want to add for this card? Well, when we go back to the design, make we see what we need to add. So if you look inside our finished demo for here, we get this card with a spread reach here. So we want spread and reach here. I want spread another card reach here, right? So how we go take down? Because if you look here, you go see say we get the card with this down for the middle of the page at all times. So to do we're going to need to affect the parent of this element to make sure say it behave like that. Now, how we go take affect the parent? Very, very simple. Well, we're going to need to first go the row. So when we come the row, we can say, okay, we want justify all the content, but we want justify them for the center. And also, as we don't justify them for the center, what we would like to say now, as this thing is not arranged for the center, we could like add another element for them. So make we go back to the example, try add those other elements. So we say we get this icon for here or this side, and then we get this, we get this element of a title, and then we get this text for here. So how we go take add this same style to this our own? If you now look here, you go see these icons, it is inside it gets its own colors. Now all these ones are Bootstrap icons, but they get like in own background, custom background, and they get custom gradient background even. So make we try and do the same thing with Bootstrap. So we go just come back inside this our example here. I remember I said we did inside this card. So what we go do is we go first make one card first. Then when we make that card, we go come copy paste the card, duplicate the card rather, different times. So make it done like that. Now, if I go back inside my VS Code, or inside the card body where they work with for here, we go say we define a H stack again. So we go say we want a class or a div. We get class of H stack. Well, we go like make this H stack give us a gap of 4, then a gap 4. And then we also want to make all the items for this gap or for this H stack, make them they align themselves to all the items, make it align all the items for the start. So we say start. So meaning say you go to start from the left side, you go to start from the left side. Now, so this whole div of this haystack go to behave. Inside this div for here, waiting again we're gonna do. Well, we're gonna need to now add another div. We're going to help us to keep the icon inside them. So we want a div. And this div, we go get some classes we're going to need add. So make we first add the icon for here, and then we go open the screen side by side, and then we're going to see the changes as they behave. So now what we want to do is say we want to add an icon. So this icon, we want to give them a class, right? And the class we will define our bootstrap icon, right? But we also find bootstrap icon dash people, just people. And we want to make it be the people field. Make we add another class or another div. We're going to help us to keep the text for the side. So we want a div. I could just say I want an empty div. And this empty div for now, we go say make this empty div, make it carry a h5 inside. So we say h5. And this class of h5, let me put a class. And this class of h5, make we say this class of h5, it gets a margin bottom one. So we'll say make this class of h5, make it get mb-1, and then make we also say make it get text capitalized. So we'll say make this h5 where we get for here, make it get a class of text dash capitalize, right? So now if we done like this, make we add the text we define. So we define find friends, right? So we put down here say find friends. Now if we done like this, make we add the paragraph text we define. So we say p, and this p or this paragraph, you will get a class of text muted because now what we define. So we say muted. And if you don't like this, it's supposed to get a muted text. So make I just say we define lorem ipsum, so I'll say lorem 10, just as dummy text we will work with for here. And if we save them, we get this lorem ipsum where we work with for here. Then we open the browser on the side. So if I bring down here, you can see now we get this card, we get our divided text for here. So because we use the H stack for here, that just means say our class, it puts everything for the side by side, horizontally stacked, right? So when we say we want to style this our icon with here, because if you look for here, this our icon, they big, it get it day here, it day this, it get color, it get background, and it day white. Whereas for our own, by default, now just black where we get for there. So I can add that CSS those bootstrap classes to make our code even show well. So already make we come inside the parent of this our icon. Remember say we no style this div for here. This not just divs where they help us they hold these two elements. So this one they inside the div and these two here they inside the div. So make we go back there into our VS Code and then make we add the classes for those divs. So to style that icon, we get that kind of style for there. What we gonna need to do the same. We gonna need tell this div say every text inside now. So meaning every text inside this div, make it be color white. And okay, move that first one. And as now white, what we want, we want to make the background also, make the background color, make it change. So what you want to define? Well, for each icon, we define background color. So we'll say BG, that are the background color of this div. We want to make it be info for this first one where we work with for here. So I will say info. Then a bootstrap class for a greenish, light green, or what do you call it? Light green color where we get for there. But if you look at it now, you can see that we just get this small light green box for here. Then let me say we want also make the font weight or make this icon size, make it big. So we'll say make the font size, sorry, not the font weight, make the font size, make it big, reach FS-3, not 4, but 3. Now, if we say make the font size, make it big, reach 3, this is say the font size don't increase. And then what's again we define? Well, we define say make this our green background we work with. So make it be background gradient or say make it be linear gradient. So I will just come here, make I come before the text, then I could just say VG. It not too matter where you put your classes, by the way, but I just they try a day more organized. So we'll say BG dash gradient. And if you do it like this and press save, you go to say now we get this different blue background. We do kind of different, you get this gradient we know fit to see, but it dey there, trust me. Now we go compare two of them just so you can see say we they do the right thing. So as we get this gradient for here, wetin again we need? Well, we just say the class, to the button they give us wetin we define. So we're gonna need to just say we want a padding on the left and on the right, so px, and we want make we set them to padding 2 for here. And as we don't set them to 2, we want make it be rounded. And I will just set that rounded again to our common rounded 4 where we work with for here. If I press save, you get that rounded padded div where we get for here. So now if you look this our code, we go see say we don't get a functioning card just like before. So we get the shadow just like the other card. We get these 2 days where they work for here. But if we say make we start to the reduce now, or if we start to the add the remaining star, it go see the responsive. So make we add the remaining cards, make we see what we need to do. So I could just expand this my VS code and then go add the remaining card. So I could just close this div for here, which will tell me column 5 or this column for here. And then I could just duplicate this column a couple of times. So before we start to duplicate now, so we're not going to get confused. Make I just say, make I add a comment here. So I will say card 1 for the first comment, for the first card. And then I go say, okay, make we duplicate this code a couple of times. So I'll keep space for here. I duplicate them. So now we get 6 cards where all of them, they're supposed they behave differently. So make I just minimize that one. Now, if you save this code for now, we can still say they get these 3 cards. But if you look here, you can still say all the cards, they get space for here, right? You get these columns, they get space. But you don't get space for underneath them. But for this one, you get space underneath, you get space for here. So how we go take add that space? And at that time, we'll go use gutter. You understand? So for Bootstrap, you get what they call gutter. So this here now gutter, but we're going to put gutter for here. We say the gutter will separate all the items. So we go back our code and we add that gutter for inside this row. Now here we go add the gutter. So the gutter we define and say we want gutter for the top, for the left, for the right, and for the bottom. So we'll say we want gutter and at the G, and then we want this gutter again, make it be gutter 4. So if we press save for there, we will see say now this our gutter, it don't give us this gutter for here. So anytime we work with this row now, we're gonna get that gutter, we're gonna get that gutter, we're gonna get the gutter. So make we change the text and make we change the icons and the colors and make we make them to resemble exactly this thing we will see for here. So make we go back into our example. We could do card 2, so expand that one. And if we don't expand that, make we change the text and make we change the icons, right? Now what we try to do. So for card 2, and if you don't like that, make we leave the text as is. Then make we change the icon where we work with for here, or the icon color. So we change the icon and we change the icon color. So instead of info where we work with for there, the background we work with now yellow, so we want warning, right? And as we do that warning, make we change also the icon where we work with for here. So the icon we define now bi dash boxes. And if I press save, this will give us that yellow icon with the boxes. Then make we minimize this class. Collapse class. I would say minimize or collapse, it no matter, but now collapse the real word we call. I just they confused. And then we could do the third one, we could expand them. And the color we define for this third one here, now red. Background color we define for here, now danger. So we say danger. And the next one we define for here, instead of this icon or field for text for here, we go say we define the chat icon. So we go say bi dash chat, and not chat, but chat. And after this chat, we want to make it be right, and we want to make the right make it be the text right icon. So I could just do dash that. And if I save them, this will give me that icon where I expect for them. So I could just minimize that one. And then go say we want success instead of info. We want the success. And the icon will be defined for here now the calendar. So we say calendar and not calendar, calendar. So we say calendar. And this calendar, which calendar we define? We define calendar 3. So just calendar 3 like that. No put any dash there. And how we do that particular calendar for there. Now, if you don't down like this, make we scroll down, come down the bottom small, and make we say we define for this card 3. So make I collapse this one for this card 5. And make I open card 5 and make we change the color. Remember, I say this gradient, it just they affect all the other colors for there also. It just the anything, any color we get for here, it will give us the gradient of them also. And I one beautiful thing about Bootstrap. So make we change that color for there. And make we say instead of the info we defined primary. So primary and BG primary, and that could give us a blue background. And the icon we define for here, now the camera, then BI dash camera. And we define not just any camera, we define video camera. So if I save them, this will give us our video camera. But what's again we define? Well, we won't find the text. We won't change the text for the thing we work on. So I forget to change the text for number 4. Make I change that text. And I believe I don't even change number 3 also. Yeah, I not change number 3, so make we change 3 and make we change 4. So for card 3, the text we define now private messaging. So I could just say and make it collapse this. And for number 4, the text we defined go be meet up. So I will say meet up scheduler. So I will say then make we minimize them. And then make we come here into the 5th card. And for this 5th card, I want to change this text also as soon as I don't realize into a video, right? So I will say HD video. So I will say HD and we will change them to videos, right? Meaning say if you do HD videos for this our call and also for this our app or web page we work with, and then we could say for this 6 card, we want change the color to secondary, or we want change this background info to secondary. So I will say secondary, all right, and this could give us that dark looking or secondary looking background, and then make we change the text or the icon bi dash shield dash lock. Okay, so this could give us that shield lock icon, and then make we change the text for here and say the text will be defined now secured data. So remember, say we use this text capitalized, so no worry. Whatever text we write for here, small or big, it will always stay capitalized for us by default. Now make we press save and make we preview all our example where we work with. So if you look here, we get the background color of info, warning, danger, success, primary, and secondary for here. And all our text just they show for it. So make you check the responsiveness also in case you get anything where we need to fix. So make I check that. By default, Bootstrap already help us. They set the responsive behavior of this our card for here. And this is it they behave exactly like the other version. If you even change the orders of this card as you want, if you make them jump up and down or make them move left and right, anyhow you want to, you feel do that with Bootstrap. So for most websites, the end of most websites, which are this bottom here, where we they call the footer for every web page. So if we get this web page, we go like do this footer. But if you look at this footer, you will see that this footer now different styling where we get. Where we say, even though at the end, it they full to the end here, full to this side and to this side. So make we do like that for this our footer. And then once we do like that, once we finish this footer, we'll come start to the focus on adding our model for inside here. We get form inside here. So we go see add the form and we go see add the validation for here. So make I close this one and make we close this one. All right. So if I reach this side, I am very, very proud of now and I do well when I reach this long section of our video where we work with for here. So make we go into our VS Code and make we minimize this div for here. I could just scroll to the top of to this section here, and then we could just minimize that. So as we don't minimize that section now, waiting again we need to do. Well, the next thing we're going to need to do now, say we want to add another section. But for here, we're not going to put any spacer. So what do we define? Well, for inside this section, what we go like do say we go like make this section get in own style. We go like make this section be in own. So we'll say make we get section, and for inside the section, we want to give a class. So we will say we want a class. And this class will be defined. We want class of bg-danger. Then you say we want that, I say dash danger dash dark. Then say we want a dark background, right? So we'll say make the background, make it a dark, right? Now, as you get this dark background, what's the game define? Well, what's we define? We say, we define background, we say the text dash light, light. And we want to make all the text for inside this our container so or for inside this our section, make them day light. That's what we want to do. We go say, okay, as we don't do like this, we want a container or a div with a class of container. So we say class, want a div with a class of container, and this container will be right for here. What we define we say we want to make the footer the inside the container. So we can say which are the HTML footer. So we can say we want a footer. This is a HTML get in own semantic footer element or footer tag where we get. So now for inside this footer, what we want to do, we say we want to make the footer get space. So we want to add some classes. So we say we want a class. And which class we define? Well, we define class for the padding for the top and for the bottom, but one set that padding for the top and bottom to 5. And we define padding for the left and for the right, but one set that padding to 2. So then our X for that, or then our padding 2. Then for inside this footer, what we define? Well, now for inside here now, I dey show now. For inside here, you go config get a row. So I dey show you say, no be every time where we say you go need to the right container and then row go follow up. If you put container, if you put anything inside that container, and then if you just write your row, but just know say the container no go green make it grow out of proportion. So make we try work with that container. So we go say with this row. So we go say we want a row, want a class of row. And for inside this row, which now the most important, we need a column, because if you write a column, you need to, if you write a row, you need to then write a column. So we want a column. Let's say we go set down to 6 by default. And this column 6 by default. What we want to be say, we want maybe say whenever we did this column for medium screen and above, we want to make this column change from medium to from 6 column to 2 column. And as we set down like this, we could also like make the margin for the bottom of each column make it be -3, right? So now so we go take set up this column where we work with for here. Now make we add that class or the text where we work with for here, because if you look at each column, they behave slightly the same way. So if I say make we scroll up a bit, make I make this thing cleaner. And then I say, okay, for inside here, make we start to add the elements where we want to work with, right? So which one we want? Well, we want a H5. And this H5, we want to give them a text of home. So we'll say, okay, this is not just a title, we could just give us a text of home. But also, we want an unordered list after that title. So we'll say UL, not UK, but UL. And we'll say, make this UL, make it get a class. So we'll say we want to add a class. A class will define a nav, right? Because this now nav links where they try add for here. So this nav where we define for here for the footer. I say we want to make it behave in a certain way. How? Well, we want to make it display flex, but we want to make the flex make it be flex column. So we say flex column. So this flex column now, it just means say we go to display everything as a column for inside this our flex column we work with for here. So another thing we would like to do is say we go like add the link or the list, and this list we would like make it get a class of nav item. So we'll say we want a class of nav dash item, just like we did the navigation for the top. So we'll say for inside this nav item, we want to make each nav item, make we add another class for there of margin bottom. And this margin bottom, we want set them to 2, not 1, but 2. And if we do like this, inside this list now, inside this, this list item now, with this nav item class, we want to add a link into them, which now the anchor link. So we say we want the anchor tag, we get a class of nav dash link. And this nav dash link, we want also add some other classes. So make we just press tab for there and add our hashtag for them, and then make we add the remaining classes where we need. So which other classes where we need to make this nav link to resemble the finished one? Well, first things first, we're going to need first command all the padding for the sides. So for the top, for the bottom, for the left, for the right, we want command those paddings. But also we want to make the text, make it day muted. We just want to make all the other ones, make all these our links, make it a day text muted. We'll say muted, muted. And if we say that text muted for there, make we then add the text we will define for this link, which will be home. Then make me duplicate this code again, because now the same thing we do, and then we go just change what we need to change. So I could just duplicate this 3 more times, 1, 2, 3. And as we don't duplicate now, I could just change only the text for here. So the first text we define just like the menu, I could say community, and then if I don't say community, the other text we defined now the events, and of course I would just say the other text we define for here. And now, if we say make we check the preview of this code where we write for here, we could go back our demo, sorry, and we scroll down, because say now we get this link for here. So if you look here, what's they happen and why our code can they arrange itself one by one by one by one based on lists? Why it they behave like this? But if you look here, it goes to say they arrange themselves one after the other. So make we go back into our code, make we try fix that issue for inside our code. So I'm going to take that. Well, the first thing we're going to do now, say, we'll first expand this. So they see the link, they behave like real link. But you see, we get this link here, and we get this link here, and we get this link here, and we get this link. So we can go back into our VS code. So already, we don't say all the nav item, may then get left and right, may then get button and all that stuff. But the mistake where we they make for here, that say we don't misspell this column for here. So we want this column, because now if you don't notice, so I could don't misspell that column for there. Another tip to say, when you don't say code where they write no they work, always check your spelling. Always check your spelling. Always check your spelling. I talk 3 times. So now we remember, say always check your spelling whenever code no they work as you expect make it work. Just that little typo, now my code no work. So as you put that, fix that typo, the code don't they work for us. Nice for there. Okay. So we could go back. And then what we would like to say, we will just like duplicate these rows a couple of times. This SD where we make this column where we make for here, we'll just like duplicate them a couple of times so that we know say we get the first one and it will work for us. Nice. So make I just put some space there, and then we could duplicate them. So I will say duplicate and duplicate and duplicate. So already we get what? How many now? We get almost like 4 divs there. So make I say duplicate, make I do that there. And then we'll just change the text for that second column. So the second column will say resources. So I will say res. And as I don't do that resources, make we change the text from here to blog. And then we could change this other text for here to news. And then make we make an uppercase, and then make we make change the text for here to guides, and then make we change them to help center for this last one. So we say help center, place center, say help there and center there. So if I don't change those texts for there, it's supposed to give us those links. Make we even check the demo, make we see whether it is show. So yeah, it they work, everything they work small. Make we go back, and then make we collapse this remaining two columns we work with. We don't work with already. So we say this column and this column collapse, and then make we enter the third column for here. So we'll just change this home to main links. And if we don't change them to main links, when we find the game, they say the text for here. All we just do not change text. So now if we put any text for in I want, but I want if not the code along. So we say members, and then make we change this one to make we say activities, activity, and then make we change this one to groups, and then we could just change this one to private groups instead. So we just say private groups. Okay. So we can minimize this one and open the last one. I think the text we define for here now community. So we say community just because it's the word we are looking for, and then we will say here we want news feed, and then after that one, the next one we define for here now profile, and the other word we define for here are friends. So we just say friends, and finally the last word we define here now forum. So as we don't like this, say forums, it's supposed to clear that error from there or that warning. And then if I press save, it's supposed to look exactly as our demo did. So if you check here, see say it work fine. We check here, it work fine. But if you look, say we still get some other elements we will need to add. If you look here, let's say we get this last column for here. So we can add this last column, and then we'll use offset, push them to the end for here. You don't understand? So we could go back, and for inside this first code, make we say we want to change certain elements for this our code we work with, right? So what do we want to do? Well, we want to add the last column. Now, this last column, because it is very similar, we can say we want a div reclass. And as we don't render that div reclass, we can say, okay, now make this class or make this div, make it get class of column. That's a column. But for medium screen, only for medium screen, make it be MD3 for here. Now, if I don't set them to MD3, by default, it will be MD3 all the time. Once you reach M3, once you reach medium screen, it will grow to, it will take 3 columns just like every other div. But by default also, what we want to say, we want to make it get, or sorry, not by default, but we also want to make it get offset. Remember, so we don't talk about offset, so we'll say offset, not offset. We'll say one offset, and one set that offset to medium, and then we go set that medium to 1. We can just move once off that one, and then we just set some margin bottom so that we go fit arrange them well for us. Now inside this div, we get all these ones for here. What do we want to do? Well, now here we want to add our form, our first Bootstrap form. But for this form, we're not going to add any validation, we're not going to add anything. And for the other form, we go add some kind of validation to the form. Okay, so we could just add a typical form for here. So we'll say form. Okay, just say form. And this form, we could just wipe that action for now. We'll say we don't want the action for there, but for this form, we just want to say we want to add a heading to this form. So we'll say this heading a be H5, and this H5, we could just say subscribe to our newsletter, or subscribe to our YouTube video YouTube channel, and then make we add a paragraph here. So we say P, and this paragraph, what you want to do, say one can say make we subscribe. So we say subscribe again to be the first. This is not just dummy text, of course. You put any text you want to know about, and then we'll just say updates. Okay, and then make we just say we want to add some extra text. So we say enter your email. All right. Now, if I talk this text like this, what again we need? Well, still for inside this form, what you want to do? As you don't add this text for the top and here like this, we go like just add another div. Now, this div, we want to make it get make it a hold the form inside, make it a hold the input form, and make it a hold the button or the submit button. Now, for Bootstrap, it get waiting with a call label. So what we gonna need, or for HTML, we go like add a label. So we're gonna say we want a label. I press tab there, I go say already they give me this form. So this form, now say where the form or where this label go, if you click on where you want make it affect, waiting this label day for, Now we want add. So I could just say this now footer, not floating. It's a footer newsletter. Okay. So if I do like this and I say this for, we can just copy out, and then we go add the text for here. So the text will define an email address. But you also get our classes we're going to need to add for Bootstrap to know say this now label. So make we add those classes for here. So the first class we define now, or the class we define now, visually hidden. All right. So that means say this label it go there, but it go there visually hidden. It go there the page, but it go there visually hidden. So as we don't put down, the next thing we need now the input. So we'll say we define the input. Oh, sorry, not img input. And this input will define. What is this input going to give us? Well, because we know they do any validation for this one, I could just leave the input as a simple text. I'm not going to leave them as email for now. And then I could just say, okay, make the name. You could just clear the name for now. For the ID, remember say I tell you say this for now for the newsletter, we can come paste that newsletter inside here. Meaning say once you click on this label, it's supposed to show you this input for here. So I will just press save just to format my code for there. And then we will start to add the other attributes where we need. So which other attributes where we need? Well, of course, we need a placeholder. So I will say placeholder, and this placeholder where we need now email. I'm gonna say email address. Now we don't know much about placeholder. Placeholder now that text we go show before you click the input of the form. Okay, when no be read text. Now just placeholder text be. Now after that, we go like just add a class. So I will say we want a class, and this class will define a form control. Now this now where Bootstrap will come the help us they do the form. The moment we put this form control, Bootstrap going to say now form input we they work with. But what we want to say, we want make the BG, or make the background, make it day transparent. Meaning say Meaning say we don't want to make this background get any color by default. So, and then we go say now make the text for inside this our background, make it a light. So make we save this code, make we even see whether it will show the way we want to make it show. Because you say now we get this input for here, we get this form. But you say now this form, this input field, it white, they transparent. But if you check the finished version, it transparent and you get this border around that, right? So make we do that one for one and you get a button. So we could do our own, make we see waiting they make that one with the show. I'm sure I don't misspell this transparent, so make I just spell them again. So I could say transparent. And if I save this code, it's supposed to clear that background. All right. Now, if we say make we add a type for this button. Now, if I say okay, make we add a text, make I see if the text are white, and if we change that text to white, so that means say our text light they work for here, right? That means say it light for dark background. If I say I want to make the text they dark, of course, say it go give me a dark text instead. So when I type, I know they see the text, but the text is there. So always remember to do those kinds of things. So we say light. And then make we start to add our button for the submission of our form. So to do that, we could just say, once we don't comment this input side, we'll say, okay, we'll just underneath the input, we want a button. And this button won't give them a class. And this class, the first class we go give them the button, right? So btn, and make we give some text to them. So this text will say subscribe to my YouTube channel. So once you click that subscribe for there, when we put that subscribe for there, you can see say it go work for us. So click the subscribe button where you see for there. All right. Now, if we say we want that subscribe for there, and we press save for this our code, what we go get, we say it's supposed to give us a subscribe button for here. But now it just show dark. We know this thing you see. Say the button there here, and we know the show as we go like make it show, right? So what we go like do if you check the other previous version, because say we get this white button for you. So make we change out for there. And make we say we want a button, all right? But this button, make it just day like before. Make it style, make it just a slightly different. So we define the btn dash light. Remember, I said we just discussed about light. So we say we define the btn dash light. And this btn dot light dash light, it will give us that light for any background. It will give us a light background. Then which one again we want? We want also make this button, make it a rounded small. So we'll say rounded, but instead of rounded 4, this time make we do rounded 3. All right, so the button go round for the edges as we want make it round for here. Then the next thing again, what thing we want? Well, we would like make this button, make we give them a type. Make we let Bootstrap know say this kind button, it gets a type, and the type of this button now just ordinary button we will work with for here. So now if I save am, you go see say the button e dey well arranged, but it dey on top each other, meaning say it dey stacked on top of each other. So because this button dey stacked and we don't wrap them inside a div, so the first thing we're going to do is say we want a class of dflex, that na display flex. And as we don't set that display to flex, what we define? We define flex dash column. And this flex column, what's again define? Define other class, maybe flex for small screen. We want make it be from small screen, make this flex, make it be row. Say for only small screen, flex dash sm dash row, make it just be displayed as row instead of column. So by default, it could be column. By default, if I press save, it could show side by side. So obviously, I don't miss a spelling somewhere, not sure where. Display flex, yes, make them bigger. Oh, I don't see the mistake I make. So you see, I write the fair lex. So we just need to write that flex for there. So meaning say for small screen, we get this row for here. So again, just that little typo when we make for there, and you see say our code don't break. So they always they cautious on your typos. Always they check your spelling errors, and that will help you to understand. That will help you to debug your code much quicker and much better. So what we get, we say we get this line for here, or we get this container for here, where they hold these items for here, right? So make we do that for this our own. And how we take do it? Well, we go first go back our VS Code, and then make we just minimize this column for here. And then after we don't minimize these columns for inside there, still again, as we don't commot that div, as we don't commot this div for here, but still inside the footer, right? Still inside the footer, I will say I want a div. And this div, I want to give them a class of d-flex. And also, just like before, I want to make this time, make the flex dash column. I'll make the flex column, make it also change for flex dash sm. And I want to make it change back to row. So just like we did just now it's I want to do. But this time, I would like make it justify all the content. I'll say content, I will justify the content, but I want to justify them between one another. So I will say between and so I will say make it justify the content between one and other. And also I will say make the text for here, for anything, for all the children for this div, make them the center. So I will say text center by default. And then after that one, I would like say make it get padding for the top and padding for the bottom, and I can set them to 4 for there. I will say margin for the top only for the top, and I can set them to 4. But also, what I want to do say I want to put that white line. So I will say okay, make the border. I will say make the border, make it just get border top dash top, and I will like set the size or make it just get border for the top. So I will just say border top. So now this will give me that white border where I define for them, because the border they inherit. Now for inside this div where we don't write for here, what I want to do? Well, now to just add our items. So I will say first one we want in P, a paragraph text. I will say made with made, and I will say with, okay. I will say made with and then we will put an emoji for here, made with love by, and then I will just leave them for here. All right. So now, as I don't do it like this, what I want to say, I want to add the link to, I want to separate, stay inside this paragraph, I want to add a link into them. When you say, I want to add an inline element to them, right? Remember, I say links an inline element. So I could just say, I want a anchor. And this anchor, once let this anchor just go our Telegram group. So I could just copy this Telegram group, because if I go see this code online, I go see push this code online, so I can see the demo. And if I click on, I go feel, see as it work for our Telegram group, and then we'll save them. All right. So now once I put that link for here, we go still need to add some kind of classes, right? So make we first say we want make this link, make we add a class. So I will say we want a class, but we want the class will be link dash light. So the link for here it could be light, because if not it could be blue. And then what we want to say, we want maybe say if we click this link, make it go another link, or make it go open another tab. So we'll say target blank for there, and then we will just add the text for here. So which now DJ, let me say def, right? If I press save for here, we'll say now we get this link, maybe we will help us to show. So make we see our example. or our code, make we see say they work, and just like the other one, they work exactly the same. Now, make we try add another thing. So waiting again, we need to add, well, we go need to add our icon, right? So make we add that icon. And how we go take do that icon? Well, we could just come up for this paragraph for here, and then we go say we want an anchor. And again, we could just put our hash for there, just to show say now link. And then we could just say target. So sorry, we go say we want to make this target, make it open target blank. But for this target blank, what you want to do is say for this link, we want to make it be an image. So we'll say img, and this just means say you want an image where they behave like a link, right? So we go say, okay, this image now where they behave like link, where the source, make it be the assets, and make it be the logo too. Sorry, not radio, but logo. It's a logo dash 2.svg. So we save it like this. We'll say country logo 2. All right, or footer logo. Okay, say footer logo. Okay, so we save it like this. You can say we get a logo where go dey this our footer we will work with, right? Now, you get some kind other things we go like add, right? So make we save and make we first see whether we did the right track. Remember, say we set the class to space between. Remember, so we say we want space between. So we get this space between. Now, we want an unordered list, and this unordered list, we want to make it get a class. So we'll say make this class be list, sorry, instead of this. We'll say make it get a class of list unstyled. So we'll say we can first tab them out. So we'll say we want a UL, and we add a class, the list dash unstyled. Okay, so now we just set down to unstyled list for them. Then we'll set down to display or d dash flex. Now, if we set down to display flex for them, what you want to do again? Well, what you would like to do is say we want set down to fs, and at the font size, but we want set the font size to 4. Then say make this text big reach for all the children where they inside this link, where they big reach for. Now, what will be this? We say we want to make the icons, maybe they inherit the parent element styling, which are the font size where they set for here, right? So then, make we say we want justify all the content for here, or want justify them for the center. So as we don't set them to justify center, we also want padding for py, and want set them to y to 3 for here. And then make we say we want to set the padding or py for small screen, and want set that padding small screen to none. So once we press save for there, you go see say everything don't set for this our padding we did for here. The next thing we go like do be say we go like just come down a bit, and inside this UL we go like add our list, right? So we go say we want a list, and each list we want make, so make I just say li, and I go use image for here. For each list we want make it get class of ms, then ms. So margin starts, then a margin for the left side, but one just make it just move 3. So every margin, every side, make it just give us 3 3 3, right? Make it just give us margin 3 margin 3 margin 3 for the left side for all the elements where they here. We go also like make we add our icons, right? So go say we want a list, or make I not too confused now. So make I say we want a list with margin 3 inside them, but we want make this list now make it be times 3. So go say times 3. Sorry, because we want how many icons we get. Make we check the demo. We get how many icons? 1 2 3 4. So we want make it be 4. So we'll say times 4 for here. So we'll just say times 4. This is not image. Don't worry about that. So if you do have, we'll say we get 3 links or 3 lists of items. So now make we add the link for here. We'll say we want an anchor, and this anchor, we'll say we want make this anchor make it a carry us go somewhere. So where we want to make this anchor go? Well, first of all, we go like make this anchor make it get link light. So we'll say make it get a class. So we'll say we want a class of link dash light. Now, if we don't like this, obviously this will give us a white text. But what we're going to do for inside here to add this text, I'm going to take add icons. Well, because we want to make these icons be clickable icons already, it is inside link. Ne? So we go next time, which is the inline element inside this inline element, which are the link. So go and say the icon we define now, the I tag, we get class of bi, and a Bootstrap icon. I want another class for there, maybe bi dash YouTube. So this will give us a YouTube icon from Bootstrap. Now, if we say make it go back into our href, make we just add link to our own YouTube channel, to our own Pidgin for Tech YouTube channel, so that if people click on, it go carry them go our YouTube channel. So I could just paste that link for there, And if I save them, it's supposed to work as we expect. So make we check our demo for here. So you see, say we get these 4 demos. So YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So make we check our own. Our own just get only YouTube. So make we try adding many. So Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, right? So basically we're going to do say we go just duplicate this code a couple of times, right? So make I even say, since I know I'm confused now, make I just copy this one and then we could just paste them in. So I could just say, okay, for inside here, we'll paste that code in there. As we don't paste that code, make we they change the links and make we they change the icons, right? So go command this YouTube link for here. Oh, sorry, not there. We'll command this link for here. And this link will define now our Twitter. So I could just paste our Twitter link inside here. And if I save them like this, you can see say we get that link for here. Also, another thing I feel like do to say, I feel like if we click on make it go or make it open a new tab, I'm not gonna like close this our web page. So again, we'll just say target and go set them to blank. And also likewise for inside this anchor, we get here, we go say target and target. I'm going to set them to blank for there. So if I save the two, you can see say now we get these functioning icons where they work as we expect. So make I just even say make we duplicate this code a couple of times or copy them and paste them together for both these two elements. And as we don't paste them, the two of them, make I save them and then make I change those icons. So already, say for the first icon, we get this YouTube. So the second icon we define like Twitter. So we say Twitter. And if we don't add that Twitter icon, the other icon we define now the Instagram. So I'll go say Instagram. And then make we clean the link for our Instagram. In case you don't know, this is our Instagram link. Make we add them. Make we come out this Twitter link for here. Change that Instagram link. And then make we change this link for here to our Facebook link. Because in case you don't know, we did Facebook also. So we go add our Facebook link for here. And then we'll change this YouTube icon with here to Facebook, right? If I press save, you suppose get YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook icon with here. So make I just press up and then make we come here. Obviously, I don't make one mistake for here, so make we go fix that mistake. Make we go back inside our VS Code and make we try fix that. So we say Twitter, okay, that's what I missed, 2 eyes. And you see just that little eye and our Twitter not work. So again, if you they see say the code no they work as you expect, no panic. Just check say you misspell something. And if you know misspell something, check again, say you know misspell something. And if you know misspell something, now that time you could come start today ask questions or those kind of things. So that now just another trick way on or tip for now we just they learn to code. So if you look here now, we get all these icons, and of course, if we click this icon, it's supposed to carry us go our YouTube channel for here. That's our YouTube. And if we click this link, it's supposed to carry us go Twitter. Go open for a new tab, our Twitter. And of course, if we say make we go our Instagram and Facebook, it will go Instagram account and it will show us our Instagram where they work with for here. So well, it make we see the responsive behavior of this our nav of this our footer where they work with, right? So if you see, say, make we just check the responsive behavior as the site they behave, and at that time we'll know whether it they behave as we want. So make we they drop the size, they drop the size, they drop the size, aha. They drop the size, everything still look good, everything still look good, aha. So now we get on tutu and it don't spread, go there, aha. And nothing, they come out for here. So everything they work as it's supposed to be for mobile screen. So we could check the top also. We could check the top and we could check the top and we could check the menu. So everything they very okay. But for now, that's all we need to learn. I will see you now for the next video. Thank you.